Well, we thought we'd do this together, so knock it out before we go to Puerto Rico to this remote island somewhere. It's in the beginning, you wondered what the game would be like, but after watching being Veterans Day and all the exposure we are giving our military, rightfully so, Richard and I both feel it's just such a great honor to be part of this game honoring our veterans. Besides, obviously, Minnesota versus Louisville, it's and the opening game of the season on national television, I just think it's really an unbelievable privilege for both programs to be playing in this game. And that's the way both of us feel, regardless of Big Ten versus ACC. I almost said Big East. I almost said AC. I almost said conference, you'd say. Besides being ACC versus the Big Ten in an opening matchup, meaning so much, it's just such a tremendous privilege, and we're really excited to get to the island and put on a good show for everybody.
Yeah, and I could echo that. I mean, we were talking to the team on the bus before getting off, and I told them, I think you'll realize when we land what this game is really all about. And I know so much is made of us versus them and me and him, but when we get there, I know our guys will learn a lot and be very gracious and make sure they embrace and enjoy it as much as possible.
Questions? We want some crap between you two. Come on, trash talk.
We're all out of breath from trash talking.
We made us do it for like 5 months, so we've run out of material.
Richard, what has it been like? Because you've played it before, but now to open the season and to spend all summer, talking about it, everybody talking about it.
Yeah, totally different. I mean, at FIU, I'm collecting a check and moving on. That was a guaranteed game we needed to play. We're here, certainly, I mean, we're preparing to win a game. And obviously, regardless of him, it's a great opponent, top 10 opponent. I think it's the third or fourth time we've ever opened a season versus a top 10 opponent in school history. So we understand that we're playing a great opponent. We got to get prepared for that. But it's not, certainly never comes up in the locker room, we got to beat my dad or anything like that. I mean, we understand the game plan, and we got to stick to it.
Chris said he wasn't sure where he should sit, one bench, one side, or one. How are you guys going to tell him and Michael and Joanne where they should?
Well, Joanne and Jacqueline will sit behind his bench. Michael will sit behind mine, and Chris will go to the highest bidder. Ryan and Jacqueline can. Oh, excuse me, Jacqueline's not coming. I forgot she's working now for a living. She's a grammar school teacher.
Yeah, I mean, so many people make a big deal about where Mike and Chris are sitting. I think they care more about who they're going to celebrate with after the game. That's more important to them than where they're sitting.
So will you buy if you win?
Be a first. It would be a first.
I'll fight for the whole island if we win.
Has anybody met Norwood Teague, the AD of Minnesota? He's really a great guy, and so excited that he gave Richard the job. But when they won the NIT last year for all the Minnesota people, we went to, what was the name of that place where we stayed at the Big East? That hotel. Anyway, we went to this hotel, and Rare was the name of the bar, and our family was there, but all Minnesota boosters and all the people celebrating. And I found out why Norwood Teague is such a great AD, because at the end of the night, and it was 100 people, it's a big bar bill and food and everything included, Norwood was nowhere to be found, and Dad picked up the tab for all the Minnesota boosters. That's why he's a great AD, the way he saves money. I'm still waiting for that check.
Yeah. They're the #1 revenue producer. I don't know if you heard that.
You talk about his team. I mean, what concerns you the most about going against them?
Well, I think they've got great experience. Last year they played, and they'll do it this year again. They'll play a top 7 schedule. And last year they had some great victories. They were a layup away against Northwestern of being an NCAA team last year. They win the NIT, and they beat Florida State twice from the ACC. They beat SMU from our league in the championship game. They beat Wisconsin. And certainly they have a lot of really quality Big Ten wins. So, Louisville's not going to scare their players. certainly, because they've played a lot of top 10 opponents before. And whether we're top 10 or not remains to be seen. We'll know a little bit more because we're playing a veteran basketball team that's deeper than they were last year. They're a very underrated team. And I watched them play last year, every possession almost, lived and died every possession. And they got a senior backcourt, 2 outstanding centers, a really good junior college small forward. Their power forward is more like a 3-man. He's almost like a pick and pop guy. And their bench is much stronger than they were last year. So it's a great opener for us. You know, like Richard said, they're preparing to win. We're preparing to win. We know we could lose this game if we don't play well, and they know if they don't play well, they could lose the game.
For both of you, you guys have coached against each other before, but how different is it maybe this time as opposed to maybe you guys played when you were at FIU?
Well, I look at it, you know, I look down the other end of the bench and I see him, and I just have great pride in the fact that he's a Big Ten coach. But we both know that this is Minnesota versus Louisville. And it's not going to help. It's not a father-son matchup. It's Minnesota-Louisville. And we both know we have good teams. We're both preparing for somewhere down the road. It'll make us both better. We know each other inside out and outside in. We know our plays. We know our offenses and defenses. So it's going to all be about execution.
So since you know his plays, are you going to have some bogus calls in there if he's trying to listen down the other end?
He knows we're going to try to do some different things, and you know we have never played a triangle in 2. He will not be ready for it. But we have to play. Their backcourt is something that must be stopped, and I'm going to try it for the first time in my coaching career.
You leaving?
No, I do not. I honestly, our exhibition game, and I actually haven't watched a lot of his film, and I know he probably hasn't with ours, because we do know what we're going to do, but I almost came out of a timeout just to mess with Mike Bellato and run one of his plays, because I know Bellato would start laughing, but I didn't do it. But we know what, you know, we're going to have different things that we haven't showed, but we know what we're going to do. It's going to come down to execution for both teams, and that certainly is important in every game, and it's going to be important for both of us.
Richard, what do you know some of it, you know, the older players very well. You were still here when recruited. Well, and you've seen him. What do you think about his team and what he's?
Well, it's funny. I was trying to think if somebody asked me if I've coached any of the guys, and Wayne is the only pure senior, 4-year senior on the team. So Wayne was the only guy. Certainly, their starting 5 is as good as any starting 5 in the country, and they're young on the bench. And obviously, once that bench starts to get some more experience, they could be a very, very complete team and a top team in the ACC. I mean, I think Montrez is obviously first-team All-American pick for a reason. Terry's going to have, hopefully, a year where he can explode. And then Chris Jones is playing great basketball, and Wayne is a veteran. And Mango is a solid player as well. So we, you know, top to bottom, they're as good as any roster we'll face.
Richard, how do you slow down Montrez?
I hope to speed him up. I don't know if I want to slow him down. You know, I think you can't simulate Montrezl Harrell. I mean, I tried to go to the Vikings locker room and get one of those players to come over, but you can't do it. I mean, you can't do it. And so that's going to have to be an adjustment for our guys. He plays so hard, and it doesn't matter who he's going against. And certainly our guys can learn from that. But, you know, certainly going to have to help as much as possible, and you know, but that's not an easy task.
Do you guys have any sense what the atmosphere is going to be like? I'm seeing this hangar and the video today. What it might be like?
Well, it's obviously. Do you know what it holds, Kenny?
About 1,400.
1,400. It's going to be all military people. We have about 60 tickets each of us, and it's going to be all military. So it's going to be good atmosphere, but it'll be very warm. It'll be 90 degrees the day we play, probably 75 at nighttime with no air conditioning. And we both have turned up the heat in our gyms to try and simulate it. You know, he's got a big edge because his bench is much deeper. We have a bunch of young guys who will not play. So he'll be able to play probably 9 or 10 deep, and we can go maybe 6, 7.
You guys were to play one-on-one in the prime. Who
Who would win?
He would, easily. I won't let him brag about himself, just today.
Going back to the NIT, if you just talk about what that was like watching him coach, being in that kind of game, and seeing how far he's come from being an assistant in this program and starting.
Well, I really thought he did a great job last year, but I even thought the year before was as good as I've seen it in terms of coaching. With my son assistant, it didn't matter. At FIU, he had 8 new players at a program that was decimated. He was playing 4 walk-ons, and he came within 2 points of the Western Kentucky game of going to the, here we are playing for an NCAA berth, and there are the AD of FIU, few administrative people, and then 8 people from Louisville rooting for him against Western Kentucky with 2,000 or 3,000 people. And that, to me, was as good a coaching job as I've seen in quite some time. Last year he did a terrific job, but the first year was really special. I think that's one of the reasons why he got the Big Ten job. And, the one thing that Richard has done that really makes me proud is, he doesn't say, I think a lot of the Minnesota people are going to see what we have here and where he's practicing tomorrow in the KFC Yum Center and the practice facility. And the one thing he has not done, he said, this is my home. We're not going to complain with what we don't have. We're going to really fix up the home that we do have. And he's taken a place that would be similar to, what's the name of the place where they played in the old days, Darryl Griffith, what's it called?
Crawford Gym.
Crawford Gym. He's taken like a Crawford Gym, dressed that up to something really nice. Locker rooms, new weight room. I mean, their weight room right now is better than our weight room. And he's dressed it up until a practice facility arrives. He's taken their home and made it a great home. And it's spent a lot of money doing it, but he's dressed up that home until they get what they have, what they need. So they've got everything right now in Minnesota and I'm sure they're going to have a great recruiting class coming up with letter of intent right around the corner.
Is there anything that he does similar to you that you wish you wouldn't do? I mean, the mannerisms.
The only thing I tell him and something I don't do is I tell him to watch his language. I really don't like when he swears. The one thing I taught him growing up is stay away from those things. And he just hasn't listened along those lines. He just swears too much.
Why do you think he's the only one that went into coaching?